Okay, testing, testing. Okay, I see the sound wave moving. Okay, welcome back to the second part of our chapter 22 videos, right? In which this time we are also going to talk about something that is not too difficult, right? We're going to talk about the classification of taxations and the effects of taxations, okay? 好嘛，嗱。How do we classify taxations, right? There are two broad types of classification, okay? The second type, in fact, we have already learned about that in chapter 14. But anyway, let's follow the textbook, page 62, and let's look at the first type of classification. We call it direct tax versus indirect tax. OK， 係咪？究竟佢係直接稅定間接稅啦？OK， now, so what is direct and what is indirect, right? In fact, here, let's look at the definition. Direct tax refers to the tax that the burden cannot be shifted, while indirect tax can be shifted. 你話 Sir， 乜嘢係 shift 咗個 burden 啊？ Let's write it down, OK？ 原來啦 how do we shift the burden by raising price 個咯，係嘛 ？For example, tobacco tax 而家收煙草稅，結果發生咩事啊 ？What happens after the tobacco tax, right? You know that the price of tobacco would increase. 點解收貴咗啊？ The burden of taxation is being shifted to the consumer， 係咪啊？收貴咗你咪幫佢俾稅咯，係咪啊？就係咁啦。OK， so if something we can increase the price, that will be indirect tax. Okay, while if something we cannot be shifted, that would be called direct tax. For example, in Hong Kong, salaries tax. Okay, don't worry， 係咪？其實香港咧得3個啫，不如寫低埋佢啦，好嘛 ？Hong Kong as of now， 暫時啊，唔敢講第時啊，暫時 we have 3 direct taxes. Okay, we have our salaries tax, and then we have our profit tax, which by the way paid by a so-called company, OK 係嘛 or the owner of sole proprietorship, OK 好啦，最後啦 we have property tax 冇啦，香港得3個啫 ，only these 3 are direct taxes。李阿 Sir， 咁有咩分別啊 ？Direct taxes basically how can you pay less？ 有咩辦法可以俾少啲 direct tax 啊 ？Easy， you earn less， 你賺少啲錢咪得咯。係啊 ，yes，right？ You earn less salary, then you pay less tax, right? You earn less profits, then you pay less tax. Okay? You rent your houses at a cheaper price. 你租間屋出去平啲 then you don't need to pay that much tax, right? 係嘛 ？So remember, direct tax, the only way to pay less taxation is by earning less， 賺少啲咯。of course not so easy。咁當然有其他嘢啦，咩 tax allowance 啊嗰啲嘢啊嘛。But let's not go there yet. OK， 好嘛？So direct tax and indirect tax. Okay, for now they may not be so important, but when we go to actually we have been through right ADAS. If you remember right, ADAS, direct tax and indirect tax, right? They are the effects are vastly different. 一個係有長有機會 maybe there will be long-term effect, but another one, indirect tax, basically mostly on short-run effect. Okay, more on that later when we go to fiscal policy and monetary policy. OK， 好啦，第二種啦，你學過啦，呢個我唔嘥咁多時間啦。Second one, we call it by tax rate, your average tax rate 係講緊你嘅平均個稅率啊。OK， 好嘛 ？Average tax rate refers to tax payment divided by your income. Okay, 好嘛 ？So there are 3 types. Progressive tax. Okay, progressive tax. The higher the income, the higher the average tax rate. OK， 好嘛？所以你見到啦個 graph 啦。The graph will look something like this, okay? If it is a tax rate, 其實佢斜幾多唔緊要㗎。The main point is that when we talk about average tax rate, it is increasing. While for the tax payment, right? Here, remember, if we talk about tax payment in terms of the actual dollar amount, okay? And here will be income. Progressive tax must be curving upwards，係嘛？總之佢唔係一條直線，佢向上斜，越嚟越斜嘅。OK， therefore the average tax rate will be increasing。OK， 得唔得？向上 curve 嘅。OK， 好啊。In Hong Kong, salaries tax is one example. Another example would be profit tax， 係咪？原來改咗稅制啊！而家咧所謂 profit tax 啊，利得稅都係啦。OK， 嗱 proportional tax obviously we are talking about the average tax rate must be the same all around. So you see the average tax rate, okay? This one will be a horizontal line, right? While for the tax payment, 嗱呢個斜幾多唔緊要，最重要嘅 this needs to be a straight line. 哎呀 ，OK， 呢條係一條向上斜嘅直線 ，OK 就得啦，向上斜嘅直線 ，OK 好嘛 ？Must be a straight line，OK， 好啦 ，in Hong Kong 嗱呢度有啲舊啊，係咪呢度有啲舊啊 ？Profit tax 佢話 profit tax 係一個 proportional tax 嗱未必㗎，你睇隔離個 box 係咪啊 ？Now since this year，OK， 2018 and 2019 it has been changed into progressive tax， 自己睇啦，好唔好？寫得好清楚啊，唔講啦。While a regressive tax, which Hong Kong, most of the tax are regressive tax. Okay, 好嘛 it should look something like this, right? Average tax rate lower and lower. Okay, 嗱 tax payment 咧就唔一定打橫嘅 may not necessarily be like this. Okay, maybe it can even go down or something like that. Okay, 總之唔係向上斜，唔係向上 curve 嘅。Okay. As long as it's a horizontal, going downward, etc., it's going to be a regressive tax. OK， 嗱呢個唔講咁多啦，之前講過啦，好嘛？嗱 ，we have learned something similar in chapter 14, so I'm not going to waste time here. 嗱，不如我哋好快寫低佢啦。In Hong Kong, what are some of the examples of progressive tax? OK， 好啦，咁究竟香港有啲咩例子咧 ？Progressive tax, there are two. OK, there are two. First is our salaries tax. Okay, and the second one would be our profit tax. Okay, 呢兩個就屬於 progressive tax 啦。Okay, well for Hong Kong, if we are talking about proportional tax, what are the examples? In Hong Kong, we would have property tax 物業稅啦。Now, if I'm correct, I think it's 15%, right? 嗱，唔知因為阿 Sir 咧冇得俾呢個稅啊，未去到呢個階段啊。Okay, I don't have to pay this tax. Okay, so I'm not exactly sure how much it is, right? 嗱 but my wife very helpfully reminded me there is also a second tax. Okay, 嗱你唔好打我住，你睇我寫晒先。Okay, the tax is called salaries tax. 你阿 Sir， 你唔係啱啱先講係 progressive 嘅咩 ？Wait a minute, okay? Let's write down. This is the standard tax rate proportion. 嗱，我哋之後會講呢個咩東西嚟嘅。Later, when we talk about the taxation in Hong Kong, we will talk about what exactly is a standard tax rate in the salaries tax. OK， 到時先算，但係記住有 part 咁嘅嘢。OK， in that particular part. Okay, it's going to be a proportional tax. Okay, only that particular part. Okay， 好啦，最後啦 ，regressive tax. What are the examples？ 好簡單啫，逢親唔係頭先講嗰三種 ，whenever it's not the three taxes we talk about, must be regressive。唔使問，一定噶啦。OK， 眯埋眼都知噶啦。Alright, so these will be the classification of taxations. OK， 好嘛？嗱，好快講埋啦。What are some of the effects of taxation？ 咁啊，收稅有咩影響啊？好嘛？嗱，呢個咧其實自己睇都得啦，好嘛？嗱 ，first of all, and which is I think the most important of all， 有咩影響啊 ？Mainly on income inequality or income equality 係咪？睇你收啲咩啦 ？OK 嗱 ，progressive tax if you remember right we are talking about the poorer people, right? The drop in the wealth, percentage drop in the wealth would be smaller. Now, therefore, progressive tax is going to be make the gap narrower. OK， 嗱呢個唔特別講啦，好嘛？第14課嗱，just read the textbook on your own, right? I'm not going to waste your time here. We have talked about that in chapter 14. OK， 好嘛？ The second one on working incentive. This one we have also learned in our chapter 17 and 18 when we talk about, if you remember, we have something we call disincentive effects. OK， 我串咗啲乜嘢啊？係啦。Especially 嗱，而家終於知道咩嚟啦？幾時有 disincentive effect 啊 ？Especially when we talk about direct taxes， 因為點解啊 ？shift 唔走啊，係嘛 ？If I have more indirect tax, easy, I shift it away， 我 shift 俾你咪得咯，唔會 disincentive 我掟俾你咪得咯。OK， 好嘛 ？But direct tax you cannot shift it away。OK， 好嘛 ？Investment incentive 大家知道啦，係咪啊 ？Let's say 嗱呢個我哋寫清楚啲啦。Let's say more specifically would be profits tax 係咪？如果啦我收咗 profit tax 係咪 ？Now I start a company but it's not going to earn it's going to earn less。Then I'm not going to start a company, right? I'm not going to invest in a company， 係嘛？我都賺唔到嘅，梗係唔 invest 啦，係咪 ？So mainly on profits tax, OK， 好嘛 ？Consumption pattern, this one mainly on salaries tax。你阿 Sir 點解呢個咁熟口面嘅 ？Yes, if you remember, there is a word, a phrase that I wish to brainwash you， 記唔記得啊？我成日有個字好想洗你腦嘅 ，is called disposable income，YD 呢個影響 YD 咯，係咪 ？And finally on the allocation of resources，right， 係咪啊 ？This one basically the allocated function of price， 係咪啊 ？When a tax is levied on certain goods，right， consumer will buy fewer of them，so firms will produce fewer of them。嗱，Sir 有咩例子啊？呢個 tobacco tax 咯。係嘛？一路煙草稅想做嘅呢樣嘢啫嘛。除咗 tobacco 仲有邊個啊？plastic bag 咯。Why we have tax on tobacco and plastic bag? Exactly, we want people to not, okay, to not buy or make or sell these things. Bad for environment, bad for health 嘛。OK， 得唔得？ Alright, now with that said, now we still have some time, right? So let's also in this video go to the past paper examples, okay? Let's go to the past paper examples, okay? Now here we have one. 原來有一條喎 okay? Now here, my suggestion, okay? You pause the video for 1 to 2 minutes before you look at the answer, okay? So 3, 2, 1, pause. Alright, I assume you have paused the video and done the question on your own, right? Now let us look at this question, right? Which of the following diagram shows a tax system that will lead to a more uneven income distribution? OK， 嗱，首先記返啦 ，OK， from chapter 14, which tax would make the gap wider? This one we are talking about must be a regressive tax, okay? Regressive tax. So let's see which one is a regressive tax, okay? 嗱，唔該你小心啲啊。You must pay very hard attention to the y-axis. OK， 你要睇清楚個 y-axis 究竟係乜嘢啊 ？OK， now this one we are talking about tax rate. Do you see as income increases, the tax rate is increasing. Tax percentage, tax rate is increasing. What do we call these two tax? 兩個都係㗎。Your income higher, you will find that, right? You will find that your tax rates are going up. 所以呢兩個我哋叫做咩啊？ These two are what we call progressive tax. OK， 兩隻都係 progressive 啊。Now, what about next two? You see, next two, this time we talk about tax payment. 今次唔係講 tax rates 啦。So when we talk about tax payment, remember our reference point. 記唔記得頭先講啦？我哋嘅 reference point 係一條直線。 Okay, so let's draw the straight line. Let's 我畫條直線做咩啊 ？The straight line, this one would be our proportional. 哎呀，呢個要寫清楚 graph 先，係嘛 ？Proportional. So anything that curves upwards，記唔記得頭先講咩啊 ？If it curves upwards, it means faster and faster，升得越嚟越快。This will be progressive tax， 咁即係呢個倒轉向下彎嘅。This one will be a regressive tax。So answer will be C, regressive tax。OK， 向下彎嘅。OK， 越嚟越平嘅。OK，not going up and up and up。No no 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 no。OK， 好嘛，嗱 ，let's move on to our notes then。OK， 哎呀，我轉翻先，爭啲唔記得轉。OK，now let's go to page 3 of our supplementary notes。OK， 好嘛，睇一條95年嘅題目啊。OK，1995。OK， 係嘛 ？Here， 你未出世嗬？Yes, I think you haven't. You were not born yet, right? Here, study the information carefully. We have taxable income, total tax payment. It says that if the tax needs to be progressive, OK， 乜嘢叫 progressive 啊 ？Progressive means that the tax rate must be increasing with income。好啦，所以啦，而家呢個 taxable income 越嚟越高啦。So how do we do this type of question？ 好容易嘅啫，我哋加多行俾佢。This one is our tax rate。好啦，第一個幾多啊 ？10% 係嘛 ？This one 好啦 ，second one I think this one will be 15%。Now therefore this one must be larger than 15%， 一定要大過15% 喎。OK 係嘛 ？So if I'm correct, I think in order to be larger than 15%, yes, I think this will be the answer, right? D 一定要大過4500先得喎。OK, if it is smaller than this amount, then it's going to be 15 or less, right? 係嘛？咁咪唔啱咯，係嘛 ？We need it to be progressive, right? 好啦，第二條啦 ，here。嗱呢啲 diagram 咧，我哋都要學下點睇喎，係咪 ？We need to we need to study these type of diagrams 嘅嘛。OK， 好啦，望望先。嗱 ，here we have our tax payment。嗱，望清楚呢個係 tax payment。OK，and then income。你咁鬼騎呢嘅呢個係咪啊 ？So let's see tax X， 佢話啦，先問啦 ，OY1 由呢句0去到 Y1 呢句 ，what type of tax is this one? Remember when we talk about tax payment, our reference, OK？ 記住啦，逢親 payment, our reference is the straight line， 條 straight line 向上斜嗰條啊，唔係求其打橫嗰條啊。The up， 寫清楚先 ，up， 費事陣間啲人話我教錯啊 ，upward sloping straight line。What would that be? Would be our proportional tax。好啦，所以啦，見到啦，咦呢個咪 upward sloping straight line 咯。So the first one would be proportional，OK？While the next one， 你見啦打橫咗，哦 proportional，no no 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 no， 記唔記得啊 ？Anything that is not that is below， 唔係我哋打直向上斜嗰條啊 ，OK？係嘛 ？This one will be a regressive，therefore proportional regressive。放心。Okay, the more you do, okay, as you do more, you will become more sensitive to these diagrams. Okay， 唔使太擔心嘅，做得多你好快就知佢玩緊啲乜嘢㗎啦。OK， 好嘛？嗱 ，which of the following statements about tax is correct？ 邊個啱或者邊個錯啊？好嘛 ？Let's see. Progressive tax has a higher tax rate than regressive tax. No， 嗱記住啊，when we talk about progressive tax, we're talking about percentage of income. We are not concerned with which one is higher. 唔係邊個高啲，邊個低啲啊 ？There is no comparison. You can't compare progressive tax and regressive tax and say that one is higher, one is low. No. OK, irrelevant 呢個唔關事啊。A is irrelevant. OK， 呢個唔係個定義。OK， progressive tax is a tax on income, while regressive tax is a tax on goods. OK， 嗱 strictly speaking, this is what is happening in reality. OK， 現實上的確係嘅 progressive 就係 on income 嘅 ，regressive 係 on goods 嘅。But is it the definition 嗱，I put a question mark。佢呢個係冇錯啊，但係呢個係唔係個 definition 啊？The word here is，佢用個 is 字，即係要問嗰啲 definition 喎。Is it the definition? I don't think so. So let's put a question mark on B。我哋唔知道 B 啱唔啱，睇埋先用 D 先，好嘛？ The tax payment of a regressive tax decreases as the taxable income increases。嗱，呢句都啱嘅，但係啱唔晒。Okay, it may not always be true. Okay，嗱，Sir，唔一定啱嘅咩？No no 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 no。Okay, if you remember, okay, here actually, let me share back. If you remember, here, let's look at example C. This one, all right, back to page 67 of your textbook. You see tax payment is also increasing as tax income increase. 其實可一路升緊嘅喎。記住啊 boys，regressive tax refer to the tax rates decreasing， 係個稅率跌緊，唔係個 tax payment。This example, you see, as it is increasing, it is also increasing. Therefore, C is only partly correct. C 唔係啱咗一半嘅咋。It doesn't have to decrease. It can also increase. Okay, so C also a big question mark. 好啦，咁究竟邊個先最啱咧？The percentage of income as tax in a progressive tax increases when the taxable income increases. This one is 100% correct. 嗱，所以記住啊 ，boys，we are doing best answer 咧，阿 Sir， 其實 B 同 C 都可以啱喎，係啊，我冇話佢錯啊，不過啱唔晒啫嘛，not 100% of the time correct， 啱唔晒啫嘛。而 D，when we look at D，it is 100% of the time correct。呢個咪點解 definition 嚟噶嘛 ？The definition of progressive tax is when taxable income increases, the percentage would increase。OK， 呢個 definition 嚟噶嘛 ？OK， 好嘛？Now what about the next question, right? Which of the following are progressive? OK， 邊個 progressive 啊？嗱 ，remember tax rates increasing one and two 兩個都實中硬㗎啦。OK， 好嘛 ？One and two taxable income 兩個喺度升緊啊嘛，係嘛 ？What about three? What is this one? Answer tax payment 直線向上 upward sloping. If you remember, number three would be proportional tax， 記唔記得啊？頭先講咗啦，一條向上斜嘅直線。OK。Three would be proportional tax. OK, while four 頭先睇過啦，係咪 ？If it is anything below an upward sloping， 係咪啊？而家佢唔係向上斜喎，打橫喎。So four would be regressive tax. OK， 得唔得？好，唔嘥咁多時間啦。Wow, what about next one? Next one. Here, let's see. Refer to the above data. Let's see, right? 係嘛？喂，咁即係要計數啦，咁即係要屈我嘅啫。OK，嗱，let's calculate the tax rate. OK, I think the tax rate here would be 4%, right? This one will be 2%, right? 係嘛？呢個係係咪？咪先。Time to cheat. OK。要計數啊 ，OK OK 嗱，first one obviously four right and the second one let's see yes 2% and the third one would be 0.13 1.3% OK 咦你見啦 tax system A as tax income increases the tax rate would start to decrease 4% 變2%變1.3%. What do we call this? We call this regressive. Well, this one, okay, I think this one would be 5%. This one would be 5%, and this one also 5%, right? What do we call this? We call this proportional tax. So answer would be C. OK， 嗱呢個真係計數嘅啫，冇乜特別嘅。Now the government plans to implement a tax under which tax payment drops when taxable income drops。佢話而家tax income drop 跟住咧 tax payment 就跌啦。咁其實倒轉呢啲阿 Sir 玩嘢啫，係咪？如果佢跌，咁其實倒轉咗㗎，佢升。Then this one also increases。喂，會唔會易睇啲啊？講緊同一樣嘢啫嘛，一個升一個升，一個跌一個跌啫嘛。OK，嗱，boys，is there any conclusion about this one? Remember, we have already looked at the graphs。頭先睇咗啦，一路升一路升，一路跌一路跌。It can be either way，唔係升同跌嘅問題。It's about 係咪？It's about the percentage。但你呢度講緊咩 ？Tax payment 啊嘛。Therefore, it can be progressive, proportional, or regressive. No conclusion without giving you tax rates。如果我冇 tax rate，我係 draw 唔到任何 conclusion 啊。OK， 得唔得？嗱 ，effect of taxation。OK， 要幾多版？我唔知道夠唔夠時間啊，因為我剩翻我得40分鐘啫。OK，we have around 40 minutes. We should be able to finish these few questions. OK， 好嘛？好啦。So what about the effect of taxation past paper? Let's see. Now the following diagram shows a tax system. 呢度有個稅制啦，係嘛？嗱，what is trying to say, right? Which of the following statements concerning the above tax is correct? 我哋先睇啦。This is a tax payment 係嘛 ，and it's going flatter and flatter and flatter and flatter， 越嚟越扁喎。呢個係咩 tax 嚟㗎 ？This is a regressive tax， right？ 係嘛 ？This is a regressive tax. So first one, it is a progressive tax. Tax payment increase. No. 記住啊 ，progressive tax 係講緊個 tax percentage 啊，唔係 tax payment 啊。So no, it will lead to an uneven distribution of income. Exactly, because this is a regressive tax. OK， 係咪？所以 B 啦 ，answer would be B。我哋睇埋 C 同 D 先，好唔好？睇埋 C 同 D 先。嗱 C, it would encourage the working incentive of workers. No， 係咪？我哋知道啦，係咪？Actually, whatever tax， 話知你收咩 tax 咧 ，it's not going to encourage working incentive， 係咪？只不過係你跌得多啲同跌得少啲嘅分別啫。OK， 跌得多啲同跌得少啲嘅分別啫。OK， 好嘛 ？Any tax, you see, right? As income increases, somehow tax payment you pay more， 係咪？係唔係都冇 incentive 㗎啦？只不過跌得多定少啲咁解啫，係嘛 ？And finally, progressivity of the tax rate would increase when income rises。No， 係咪？咩叫 progressivity 啊？喂，我而家 regressive 啊嘛，咁即係 progressivity 越嚟越低啦，係咪 ？Less progressive。OK， 好嘛？好嗱，喂。咁即係玩我啫，而家要計3個。OK， 嗱 ，here which of the following statement is correct？ 唉，算啦，死地氣啦。OK，I think this one is a 5%, right? This one would be a 5%. This one would also be a 5%. OK， 好啦 ，this one should be an 8% if I'm correct, right? This one would be seven 計下先，你等陣先，等阿 Sir 出 cheat 啦，真係計唔到啊，好難計啊。OK， 8.5%， 8.5%， and this one definitely 9%。好啦，最後一個啦，唔使問啦，最後一個 regressive 唔計啦。OK， 計埋啦，哎呀，費事俾人鬧啦。OK， 10%。OK， this one 5%， this one 3.33%， right？ 係嘛 ？So let's see. None of the above is a regressive tax。唔好玩啦，咩嚟㗎 ？C 咪呢個咯，係咪 ？This one is a regressive tax。This one is a progressive tax。Wow, this one is a proportional tax。OK， 好嘛？好 ，taxation principle of equity put forth applies to all of the above taxes. No， 記唔記得啊？我哋話 equity 係邊個啊？Only 唔係 sorry 打錯咗。Only tax A。OK，only tax A would fit the description. Progressive, regressive, not. OK，not apply to does not apply. OK, equity does not apply to progressive and regressive. OK, tax A is the most effective in achieving a more even income distribution. Yes, exactly. Progressive tax is going to make it more even. OK, tax B 唔係 tax A 唔係 sorry no tax A is a proportional 我睇錯咗添係嘛 tax B is a progressive tax. Yes, this one should be a B. OK, B 先係啊。好啦，嗱好啦。 跟住我哋學下睇呢啲咁嘅圖啦，係咪 ？First of all, tax this time not tax payment, but a tax rate。好啦，呢個係一個好典型嘅 ，this is a very typical salaries tax structure，得唔得？呢個係一個好典型嘅。OK，now let's learn some terminologies here。OK，好啦 ，first。Let's look at the part where tax rate is zero。我哋前面有一忽咧係有 income 都唔使俾 tax rate 嘅喎，係嘛 ？What do we call this? OK? What do we call this? We actually call the 0% part. We call this the allowance。原來啊，講緊啲免稅額啊。唔使俾稅咯，係嘛 ？When we have allowance, we do not need to pay tax. So you see here, right? 係嘛 ？We have income, but we are not paying tax. 我哋望望啦 ，the new tax structure seems that the new tax structure has more allowance. 點解啊？你見佢0% 係去得遠咗㗎。It goes further, okay? You are allowed to have more income before you need to pay tax, right? 係嘛 ？Now, then this one, the slope。咁個 slope 係咩嚟㗎 ？The slope is the progressivity， 係咪講緊佢啦？係嘛 ？Here the slope would be our progressivity， part of the progressivity anyway， 係咪 ？Part of 係咪升得幾快啦 ？You see they are the same。OK， 好啦，跟住最後啦，你見啊 ，the flat part 嗱，原來咧最後 flat part 嗰度啊，就係我哋頭先講啦。This is the standard tax rate part 呢 part 就係我哋嘅標準稅率啦。OK，when you reach certain part, it's not going to increase further. It's going to stay flat. OK，in Hong Kong, I think it's 17%, right？係咪？好似係17%啊，係嘛？喺邊 Hong Kong？好啦，而家你望望啦 ，this one, right? The new has a higher standard tax rate part， 係咪？佢而家咪高咗咯？你見係咪啊 ？Yes，the higher standard tax rate。OK， 係咪 ？Mainly 你阿 Sir， 其實咩 standard tax rate 咧 ？Mainly targeting the very ultra extreme rich people。你夠誇張啦咁啊，係咪？實記得啦，係咪 ？Very ultra extreme rich people，mainly 主要係佢哋俾嘅。嗱，遲啲再講，點運作，遲啲再講，好嘛 ？Now let's say compared to the old salaries tax structure, the new tax structure has a smaller， 唔係頭先講咗啦，係 has a more allowance, right? Has a lower standard tax rate， 唔係喎，頭先講啲已經 higher， 話係咪啊 ？Will what？ 我哋睇下 C 同 D 啦。Will narrow the income gap between the rich and the poor。咁即係我哋睇其實佢有冇咁progressive 啦。OK， 好嘛 ？Let's see whether it is more progressive。OK，first it has more allowance， 係咪啊？即係咩意思啊？即係話the poor 係咪 more people， 或者寫清楚啲啊 ，more lower income people do not need to pay tax。你發現啊，其實而家 allowance 高咗啲咩意思啊？係嘛 ？With more allowance, it means that right there will be more people not needing to pay tax。咁啊，邊扎係最有錢嗰啲唔使俾稅啊？定係冇錢啲嗰啲唔使俾稅啊 ？Of course, the poor raw people。OK， 好嘛，好啦。On another hand, higher standard tax rate， 即係咩意思啊 ？The rich people would pay more tax， 比以前嚟講仲要俾多咗喎，係咪？其實比以前嚟講佢仲俾多咗稅喎。Okay, they're going to pay more. So both of which would suggest that this is more progressive in nature. More progressive in nature. 係咪？而家其實而家係更加 progressive 啊。Therefore, yes, will narrow the income gap 係中嘅呢個。Now, what about D says that will widen the tax base， 令到嗰個稅基啊闊咗啊。Okay, so what exactly is a tax base? Tax base refers to the number of people paying taxes。好啦，最主要係邊個啊 ？Now mainly allowance， 而家多咗 allowance，so fewer people would pay tax。其實而家少咗人俾稅啊。Okay, fewer people would pay tax. Therefore, the tax base should be narrower. OK， 逢親有 allowance 一定係個稅基會窄咗，因為啲人唔使俾稅啊。OK， 好嘛？嗱 ，what about the next one? Very similar 係咪？你見到啦，又係嗰樣嘢啦。嗱 ，this time you see what happens? Allowance, you will see that new tax structure has a lower allowance, OK？ 有個低啲嘅 allowance 啊 ，and then the standard tax rate， 我串緊啲咩 ？Standard， 喂大佬 tax rates， you see the new is also lower， 都係低啲㗎 ，OK？ 都係低啲㗎 ，OK？So what happens? The new structure 係嘛 ？With lower allowance and lower standard tax rate， 即係咩意思啊？其實全部都係 less progressive 咯。嗱，當然啦，未必咁簡單嘅 ，not necessarily so easy, right? But let's go to there when we go back to face lesson， 係嘛？有啲難解而家係嘛？唔係淨係睇呢啲嘢嘅，仲有少少嘢要睇嘅。OK，but for now。This would suffice, right? 係咪 ？In a more even 肯定唔係啦 ，less progressive 啊嘛，係咪 ？Reduce the working incentive of all workers 嗱，其實呢個點睇咧 ？You just need to look at the the total the tax rates 係嘛？其實你睇佢 tax rate 有冇升到 ？OK，let's look at right，let's compare new old。好啦，前面呢忽先 ，before 係嘛？你見啦 ，new system 同 old system 係嘛 ？This part 零去到第一個丫叉個位 is always going to be zero。呢班人冇變過，係咪都唔使俾稅㗎啦？ What about the new system？ 我哋望望啦，其實啦，前面啊 ，suddenly under the old system 有一 part 丫叉後面個 part，you see this part，those people don't need to pay tax，right？ 係咪佢哋唔使俾啊 ？But under new system they start to pay tax，so this part of people under the new system will reduce their working incentive。係嘅，呢忽啲人真係會少咗 working incentive 嘅。But I want you to look at the final part， 最後啦，係咪？最有錢嗰啲人 under the new system you will see actually the very rich people would be paying lower tax rate。其實佢俾少咗喎。So what happens to working incentive? In fact, I think it will increase, right? So B, not correct, okay? Broaden the tax base, exactly. Lower allowance. More people pay tax, 係嘛？咁咪 broaden the tax base 咯，係嘛？ And lead to an increase in total tax revenue 未必嘅喎，係咪啊？嗱 ，later we'll discuss that later. OK， 好啦，望埋最後呢條啦。OK， here you have a new system. OK， you have a new system， 係嘛？272一樣啫 ，but from 50K to 60K， 其實即係咩意思啊？其實即係咩意思啊 ？OK， it becomes less progressive. OK， it becomes less progressive. OK， would there be fewer people falling into the tax nets? OK， tax net 關邊個事啊？記唔記得 ？This one something to do with allowance. Are you given allowance here? No, right? So let's put a question mark. 我哋唔知。Fewer people would have to pay the standard tax rate 係喎，其實係咪啊 ？Because right 係咪 ？Because now it is basically less progressive 係咪？闊咗啊係咪 ？It becomes wider, so it is harder to reach the standard tax rate. OK 係咪 ？Yeah, harder to reach standard tax rate. OK 係咪 ？Harder to reach standard tax rate. OK 好嘛 ？So B will be our answer. OK 好嘛？好啦，睇埋 C 同 D 啦。People's working incentive would decrease， 肯定唔係啦，全世界都俾少咗稅啊，係咪啊 ？Basically the whole world on average paying less， 其實全部人都係全世界 on average 都俾少咗喎，係嘛 ？on average 都俾少咗喎。OK 好嘛 ？Consumption expenditure 佢哋一樣啫嘛。On average paying less， 咁冇理由 consumption 會少咗啊，係嘛 ？OK 嗱 ，again understand it may take some time to understand what is going on，right 係嘛？Don't worry，we'll have more examples as we go back to school and in the later chapters. OK， 好嘛？嗱 ，so for this chapter 嗱 ，I'm reaching 40 minutes，開始俾 Zoom 鬧我就要斷線啦。OK， 好嘛 ？So I will see you in the next video. In which in the next video, what I'm going to talk about. 我都唔知自己下一個講咩啫。Yes, we're going to talk about the taxation in Hong Kong. OK, so until the next video, see you very soon. Bye bye.